morning soon. Joy shall come in the morning. Joy shall come to you. Out of darkness, stream of light, comes the day from the night. Joy shall come in the morning. Joy shall come to you. Peace shall come in the morning. Peace shall come in the morning soon. Peace shall come in the morning. Peace shall come to you. Brothers all in charity, sisters all in unity. Peace shall come in the morning. Peace shall come to you. Hope shall come in the morning. Hope shall come in the morning soon. Hope shall come in the morning. Hope shall come to you. Take the sting from the night. Open your heart with wings, take flight. Hope shall come in the morning. Hope shall come to you.
We just sang about joy, peace, and hope, and those ideals are so important to all of us, but truly we were singing about so much more. I hope you recognized it in some of those lyrics. We sang about taking the pain from the night. We sang about opening your heart and with wings taking flight. That's lyrical. You can actually imagine yourself maybe doing that. And we went further in that song and we said to all brothers who are all in charity, we are encouraged to be charitable, which means to pay attention to what others and the social well-being of others. So it's more than just joy, peace, and hope. There's charity. And the sisters, did you see what the song said to the sisters? You're in unity. And so you're all reminded to act as one for the benefit of all. So brothers and sisters, we all have something to do in order to garner joy, peace, and hope and share it. So that song, in my mind, turns out to be the perfect kickoff to this season that hopefully ends in a few days. We get to have the opportunity to express our preferences for what the future of this grand country will be. So have at it. Cast your vote. Let your voice be heard loudly, we hope. And so it is.
Good morning. Good morning. This is a difficult time of year for me. Everyone that I care about who has died did it sometime during this period, from the last few days of October to the first few days of February. All of their birthdays and all of their anniversaries are during this time period as well. Then there is Thanksgiving and Christmas. Not only am I reminded of their death, I am reminded of their absence as well. Then there is the time change, and suddenly it is full dark before dinner time. I have a hard time with darkness too. I sleep with a light on. I won't go into the garage after dark. Even though there is a light, it's not very bright. I have left lights on all day if I knew I was going to be back after dark and the switch was not by the door. I don't deal well with darkness. I have an itchy fear at the back of my neck that hands are reaching out to grab me. It is a well-founded fear, but that's another story. Whenever I'm asked to send healing, loving energy to someone in need, whether it's here at church or somewhere else in my life, I always picture a translucent dome above me filled with light. Rays of light shoot out from this dome, finding the people in need and filling them with love and light. I've been thinking about this the last few days as I could feel myself sliding down the slippery slope into depression. Yesterday, I took my dog for a walk, and I probably will again today. Walking is a good thing. Fresh air and sunshine are good things. I think I will add to that a small dome just above my head, full of light that showers me with a never-ending stream of love and healing everywhere I go.
Thank you, Kathryn. I love your dome of light. We need another order of service, Nancy. Another order of service, I think, over here. For Janet. Well, now's the time when we spend a lot of time talking about the future. So all I got to do is find my notes regarding that. Aha, right there. Okay, we already did the Ring Out Danger performance. A few of us, there were 3 or 4 of us. We ring the bell every first Friday of each month to recognize the fact that we need to pay more attention to help end gun violence in this country. Hopefully you all set your clocks back. You must have, because you're here. You're here on time. That's amazing. Someone's going to show up, though, right at the end of the service. I just know it. So we managed to survive that pretty well. We have the Women's Spiritual Book Study group that meets in the hall on November 7th and 21st this month. They've changed it, I think, from the other days that had been scheduled in order so that we don't have to conflict with Thanksgiving or Thursday. It's a Thursday group. So that's the Women's Spiritual Book Study. And then November 10th, we have the Board of Directors meeting, I presume, and it'll be 9 a.m. in the hall, and you're all welcome to attend, though attendance is not required, except if you're a board member. And then we have the Healing Circle again a couple of times this month, I do believe. I've got November 11 and November 25, and that's from 7 to 8 p.m. right here in this beautiful old sanctuary. Potluck on November 23 after the service in the hall. I guess we're not doing a cabaret this month, or we're taking a slight winter break before we start up again. Though I have no further information about that, I expect we will start up again because it is very popular. There is something else special happening in the near future that Patrick asked me to tell you about. He received an email from a group that we have supported. We did a fundraiser for them, and let's see, what are they? Well, let me read to you the email. Hi, Pat. We'd like to give free tickets to Church of the Oaks to come see any of our adult cast shows of Into the Woods. And Into the Woods, that's a flyer that she attached. It's going to be in Sebastopol and on 4 specific dates in November, between November 9 and 16. It's put on by the Main Street Theater, and normally it costs $15 or $20 if you buy it early or at the door, but they're going to give free tickets to anyone who signs up from Church of the Oaks. So there will be special instructions on how to get your free tickets if you're interested in going. And they are on the 9th, the 10th, the 15th, and 16th. Let me read you a little bit more about this. It is the adult cast, Into the Woods Junior. There's also a youth cast, but we're being invited to the adult cast performances. Here's what it said. Join us for an unforgettable evening as we present Into the Woods at our beautiful Sebastopol Theater. This enchanting musical takes you on a journey through a magical forest, weaving together the classic tales of Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, and more. With its stunning music, captivating story, and incredible performances, how can you resist? Into the Woods is a show you won't want to miss. Bring your family and friends to experience the magic, the laughter, and the adventure live on stage. That's the good part, live on stage in Sebastopol, which is not a bad place to visit. So I'm going to be sending an email with all this information to those people who are currently on our newsletter mailing list. But some of you who might want to go might not be receiving the newsletter. If you're not receiving the newsletter and you want to maybe take a chance at going to this, I'm going to pass around during the service this flipboard or flip chart, not a flip chart, whatever that is. Anyway, you can put your name and your email address here and leave it here back by the, as you leave, back by the donation basket, and I'll pick it up and I will add you to the list of those people who I send the email to that includes how you get your free tickets if you choose to go and when you want to go.
What time is it?
Well, there's 4 different performances, so.
I'm gonna amplify on it a little bit. I volunteered to help the kids' performance out this weekend. So when it says junior, that doesn't mean that it's young. What it is that the first part of the production is lighthearted and the end goes a little bit dark. So they focused on the positive and they kept it short that way. The performances next weekend are Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. matinee and 6 p.m. evening or 7:30 evening shows. The following weekend is Friday and Saturday, so 7:30 on Friday, 2 p.m. on Saturday, and 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. So first weekend is Saturday, Sunday. Second weekend is Friday, Saturday. All right, and then in the adult performance, there's 2 casts, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job. They've got backtrack, but it is a school, so this is an opportunity for people to showcase their talents.
So I'm going to pass this around. If you're interested, if you're not sure that you're on our mailing list already, put your name and email on there. But if you're on it, you will get the information even if you don't intend to attend. Now there are a couple of new folks here, I think, who might not be on our email list. So please add your name and email if you want more information. You'll get all the details you need about which performance you want to attend and how to go about getting your free tickets. All right. Are there any other announcements that any of you have?
'Tis the season, please fill up the food barrel.
I can't hear you.
It is the season, please fill up the food barrel over in the social hall.
Yeah, the food barrel that we have back over in the hall is just sitting there vacant some of the time, empty or half empty. She needs to fill it up, and we need to fill it up with for those who need more help with their food. Yes,
Is this a time we say special prayers for?
we will in a moment unless there's some other, are there any other things that we need to announce first? Okay, well now what Callie is bringing up is we usually take some time, recently especially, to recognize and send our love and our healing energies and light to people who have a need. So you have someone in mind, Kelly. Gail?
Gail.
All right, so let's keep that name in mind. Any other people you folks think we need to send our light and love to?
Clint.
Say it again.
Clint Grossi.
Okay, I hope you heard that.
Like Eastwood.
Any others?
Lou Bear.
Okay.
Richard and Tina.
Any more?
Lane and Bob.
There's a lot of light and love needed. Any more?
Ron.
Okay. Let's take a moment or two and send our healing light and our love and our energy and the attention of the universe to all these folks who are in need. Thank you all very much. We're now going to be standing and singing a song that encourages us to revise our focus so that we can see clearly the peace, love, beauty, joy, truth, and wonder in the world. We see all too often the negative stuff. But now let's help us see more peace, love, beauty, joy, truth, and wonder, because it's out there. Please all stand if you are able and join us in singing. What do you see? We're going to sing the first 3 verses and following refrains. Maestro?
What do you see when we walk in the morning?
41.
In the warmth of the spring sun. What do you see in the first red tulip? What do you see when the young lambs run? I see peace, I see love, I see beauty, I see God. I see joy, I see truth, I see wonder, I see God.
Let's do that first verse over again now that you understand how it's supposed to go. All right, here we go.
What do you see when you walk in the morning, feeling the warmth of the springtime sun? What do you see in the first red tulip? What do you see when the young lambs run? I see peace, I see love, I see beauty, I see good, I see joy, I see truth, I see wonder, I see God. What do you see in the bright summer rainbow? What do you see when the clouds roll by? What do you see on a moonlight evening, counting the stars on a velvet sky? I see peace, I see love, I see beauty, I see God. I see joy, I see truth, I see wonder, I see God. What do you see when the coldness of autumn colors the leaves with the tint of gold? What do you see when the birds fly southward, winging away to escape the cold? I see peace, I see love, I see beauty, I see God. I see joy, I see truth, I see wonder, I see God.
All right, while you're standing, we take this moment to greet each other in the traditional Church of the Oaks fashion, which means a handshake, a hug, a nod, a wave, whatever you're comfortable with. Enjoy.
We didn't do this in church when I was a kid. In this stoic Catholic church. Well, yeah, I mean, not this but back 50 years ago, oh man, 70 years ago. The stone fences still.
Fuck you and you've been.
Yeah. Dominus Vobisco.
Yeah, that's right. It's true what our minister, Patrick Michael McCarthy, says. It's a joy to stand up here and watch you all participate in greeting each other. That seems to be the heart of our service each Sunday. I'm glad you partake of it. Ralph Waldo Emerson pointed out to us that abundance is not a result you create. It is an existing state you recognize. That's pretty deep. I interpret that to mean that abundance in all things is flowing through the universe. And it's available to all those who choose to tap into that stream of abundance. And the best way, perhaps, of putting ourselves out there into that flow is to give of ourselves first. If we give, chances are excellent we're gonna receive. It's always best to give first. So we do encourage everyone here to share some of their time, talent, thought, and treasure, not just with Church of the Oaks, but with other communities that they are part of in their lives. So we do provide in the back a basket if you wish to leave something in the way of a donation for the activities of the Church of the Oaks. But some of us also tithe regularly, either weekly or monthly. So we need to help ourselves by helping others. That's always a good thing. Let us look at the order of service, and in the middle you will find an affirmation of abundance. And right under celebrating our abundance, join with me by saying, to realize an abundant life, one must practice giving, receiving, and gratitude. Maestro. We're about to enter into our meditative, peaceful time. And in getting ready for that, we call it the practice. Let's return to a song that we sang a lot last month because it was our opening song. It's called Surely the Presence. But I only want to sing the one verse, the middle verse, I think it is. The one about peace. Yes, we'll sing only the second verse of Surely the Presence before we start the practice. 35 of the song.
Surely the presence of peace is in this place. I can feel its loving power and its grace. There's a holy truth within us that no error can replace. Surely the presence of peace is in this place.
Good morning, all of you.
today's practice, as it happens, is all about gratitude. And I want to preface it by recalling something that Patrick actually spoke from the pulpit last Sunday, which was that, and this is, something that's been scientifically studied and proven, you cannot feel gratitude and feel a negative emotion at the same time. It's impossible. And what does this mean for us right now in these times? I feel I can think of no more important practice and task for not just the rest of this year, but really the rest of most of our time on planet Earth, than simply exercising that muscle of gratitude. Because it is a muscle, it is something that we unfortunately have to deliberately cultivate in this culture where there's so much focus, so much of the time, on negativity, on what's wrong, on what divides us, rather than on what unifies us, which is the good that, as Wayne was just explaining, you simply have to learn to recognize. So today's practice consists of two pieces. The first is a simple breath technique called box breathing, which you may have encountered before, whose purpose is simply to calm our nervous system, because so many of us are walking around right now overstimulated in fight or flight, not even realizing how thrown out of our center we are by all that's happening. And this is a simple breath technique that we can return to at any moment to help us bring our nervous systems back into alignment. And this is how it goes. I'll explain it first and then we can do it together. And again, like any technique like this, I want you to make it work for you. So do not by any means force yourself to do anything that doesn't feel comfortable for your body. You make it work for you. And if it doesn't feel good, stop doing it. However, the way it's typically done is you take 3 seconds on your inhale, hold for 3 more seconds, 3 seconds on your exhale, hold for 3 seconds. And that's why it's called box breathing, is because each one is the same length. So let's give that a try to begin with right now. Just taking a couple of normal breaths first, centering yourself, and even now tapping into that incredible vibration of gratitude we've been speaking about. And now when you're ready, we're going to take an inhale for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Just hold. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 1, 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Inhale. 2, 3. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 1, 2, 3. And breathe normally now. And just recognize this is a tool that you can use to just literally slow the world down by slowing down your own perceptions, your own nervous system at any time. The breath is so close and so available, and we just need to remember to use it when we need it. I was looking around as Wayne was reading the gratitude affirmation, and I was just in awe of the beauty in this room. Just everyone take a moment and look at these flowers. Look at these candles, these beautiful squashes that Mike and Joel and others have brought to share. All of the beautiful colors everyone is wearing, the way the light comes in this room. It's just stunning. It really is. And that beauty is in our hearts as well. We'll just close with a few moments of appreciation, each of us in our own hearts. Make a gratitude list of just all the things that you're grateful for. Just notice them. Notice all the good that is always already there. Start with something right in front of you and just expand out from there. Maybe it's a beloved pet, your family members, the art that you drive by on your way to work. So much to be grateful for. Most of all about ourselves. That's where the rubber really meets the road. Can you be grateful for your smile, your kindness, your strength that you're willing to lend another in need? The more you acknowledge these things, the more they grow and expand. What the world most needs now might just be for each of us to acknowledge our own light in a new way and share from there. Namaste.
Thank you, Natalie. That's another good reason to come to church on Sunday. If you happen to notice on the order of service the title of my message, you may be going, what? What's that about? Well, what? Again, it actually relates to three very distinct circumstances that many of us are encountering in our current lives. The first, what again, is what? Wayne again? Preaching at us from the pulpit? Wasn't he just here a couple days ago? Well, usually I give an occasional mini message, or I get to play the piano when Michael's otherwise engaged. And today, I get to run the whole service and even give the main message. We got an outsider come in the other day to give him. He's not really an outsider, he's one of us. And he gave the main message the last time that I helped to run the service. But this time, I get to do the whole thing. But I decided that I shouldn't just be standing up here and say, I'm Wayne, in place of Patrick. Patrick's our minister. So I decided I needed a title, and I sent it off to him. He didn't object. So I call myself the proxy minister. Or maybe to use a term my wife used on the way here, the proxy pastor. Okay, that's me. We've all heard that term proxy before. Usually it has to do not with church, but it has to do with voting, maybe at a board meeting, or voting at a PTA meeting, or some sort of voting. I give you my proxy, you vote in my place. So that's kind of a proxy pastor type of thing. You get the power to act for you. You give the power to act for you in a specific situation. My proxy today, though, is limited to this particular service, though it looks like I may get to do the whole thing again come the Sunday before Christmas. Patrick apparently needs another day off. He's got a day off today. Maybe he's getting older. He's got a ways to go to catch up to me, though. All right, the second what again is what? Donald Trump is on the ballot again? And what? Kamala Harris is running against him for president? What? I expect that most of us here have either already voted or intend to vote very soon, because Tuesday is the last day to do so. And the differences between the two candidates and their platforms could not be more glaring. So I'll not endorse either candidate from the pulpit, but I will encourage you to follow your own conscience and be sure to vote. Every vote will count. What? Again? Yeah, every vote counted last time, 2020. Every vote counts. Get out there and do it. The last what again is more personal. You've all heard me tell you some of the story of the journey that Nancy and I are taking of late, moving from our old place in Roanoke Park into a retirement community, Petaluma, and putting up with a whole new way of life that we're not totally there, even though a few weeks ago in the mini message I said, and I quote, Nancy and I are still on the spectrum between doing okay and actually thriving at our new retirement community. So what, Wayne, do we really need to visit this again? Apparently I do. And you are my willing accomplices, apparently, because you're here. And I got more to say. It's for certain that I need to visit this again, and because I believe there's something more for me to learn, and something more maybe for some of you to learn as well, because some of it that transpires in our lives is probably going to or is transpiring in yours as well. And it all relates to something that happened last Tuesday. I don't know if any of you remember last Tuesday. It was a glorious day, even more glorious than today. It was sunshiny and it was bright. It wasn't too hot. It certainly wasn't cold. Even at Bodega Bay, which I had signed us up to go on a trip sponsored by the retirement community, Valley Orchard, where we're currently living. And I'd signed us up after talking to Nancy about it. Won't it be fun? And I don't recall what she answered, but I found out. So we had a driver, and they had their own bus there at Valley Orchard, and we'd all get in. It's probably a 40-seat bus, but there was only like 10 or 12 of us total. One other couple, Nancy and I, and a bunch of single people as well. We were going out to Bodega Bay to have a seafood lunch at the Tides restaurant. That's a very nice place if you haven't been there. And I knew it was going to cost a couple of bucks, but hey, you know, this is a chance for Nancy and I to enjoy something else outside of what we normally do. Well, some of you who have driven from here or Roanoke Park out to Bodega Bay know it's really a pleasant trip. On a bright, sunshiny day with no rain, no wind, and not a whole bunch of traffic. It's a pleasure to drive out there, usually. And I knew that Nancy would enjoy that trip and the lunch and the company of additional people and added visit for a possible trip out to the headlands after lunch, the headlands at Bodega Bay and where the ocean is. And I just knew it was going to be a wonderful day. But about 6 minutes into the trip, Nancy starts talking to me, asking me questions. How long is this going to take? Why aren't we there yet? When are we going to get there? Did you know it was going to take this long? It was a barrage. I mean, she obviously was not enjoying herself. And I wasn't either anymore at the moment. And then she said, "What idiot signed us up for this?" I could only see one idiot in the entire bus. So it became obvious to me which idiot she was talking about. But once we got to the restaurant, she seemed to enjoy the crab sandwich and French fries. And we sat next to a couple, and she seemed to enjoy, on occasion, talking to the lady next to her. But both of them would say something, and the other would say, "What?" And then the other would answer, and the other would say, "What?" A little hearing problem sometimes in the aging community. Okay, we did have a beautiful view out the windows at the bay. But then we finished lunch, and the whole group wanted to go out to the headlands. Well, that's It's a fun thing to do when you're not in a hurry to get home and get the trip over with. So we got out there, it wasn't bad. It took another 20 minutes maybe to get out there. And everyone piles off the bus at the overlook of the actual ocean. That's the Pacific Ocean out there. We got about halfway out there and Nancy said, oh, it's too cold. So we had to return to the bus. So I took her back to the bus and then I went out there and I enjoyed the look at the ocean and the fresh sea breeze, which wasn't too cold for me, but it was for her. So I honored her need to stay out of that, what for her was a cold breeze. We left the others and they finally returned. And then we took the trip back to Petaluma. Much more relaxed for me. Out of consideration for Nancy, I decided that I would let her sit by the window where she had been sitting, and instead of sitting right next to her and crowding her, I decided to sit across the aisle so that she had more room and I had more peace. And it went very well for both of us, the trip home. And a really positive note was sounded by Nancy as we were turning into the driveway of the retirement community. She clapped her hands and said words to the effect that, hooray, we're home. I don't think I'd ever heard her say we're home when it meant not going back to our old house, which, by the way, is finally rented, and we have people moving in there this weekend. So, before you and I get too excited about nice to be home, we have to recognize that before the next day was over, she wanted to know how much longer we'll be staying here and when we might get back home. So the question is, where did I go wrong in that entire event on last Tuesday? Or did I go wrong? Maybe yes, maybe no, maybe. Was this just part of our current growing and aging process? Was this truly a disaster or merely one of those humps and bumps I told you about the last time I talked about this situation? Perhaps I just need to, and maybe am, learning to relax and learning to live with ambiguity. Ambiguity, the not knowing for sure where things are or what things are going to happen. So far, I'm able to let Nancy stay alone in our apartment while I take care of my own needs, like going to the health club and working out and playing golf once or maybe twice a week. And then I get to go every Wednesday evening to the community center in the B section of Rohnert Park and practice singing with the Rohnert Park Chorale. By the way, we're very good. You're going to want to come to our concert. Sabrena has enough.
We're really good.
Yeah. She has a solo.
No, I don't have solo.
A solo phrase. And I have a solo phrase too. They're not giving us each.
Oh, that's right. We have one that you can for dynamics.
Yes, there we go. So, and on the first Friday of every month, I get to come down here and ring the bell. So I'm able to get out. So far, Nancy hasn't required the need of anyone to watch over her while I'm gone. And the income from the lease of our house is going to enable us to be able to not only live where we are, but to actually create a surplus that if we do need a visiting caregiver, we can probably pay one. So my main remaining problem, and the one that a number of you may be facing as well, is how do I handle the realities of our current and future lives without being overcome by either anger, sadness, woefulness, or despair. I've visited each of those. They're not very nice places to visit, so I recommend you spend very little time there if you go there at all. And I believe I may have found some of the answers to that question in my search for quotes for today's service. You'll notice at the bottom of the order of service, I am inspired by the people and some of the things that they have to say. The first one at the bottom is by Michael J. Fox, and you may remember that he was on that TV show, a very popular TV show, The Family Ties, was it? I think it was Family Ties, and then he got Parkinson's disease, and he still got Parkinson's disease, and it's affected his whole career. So anyway, Michael J. Fox says, the more I expect, the more unhappy I am going to be. The more I accept, the more serene I am. I'm not saying you ought not to have expectations, but what he's suggesting is maybe you ought not to hold your high hopes on those expectations. And if you don't have any, you might be better off accepting what is and being more serene. And then there's another one on the second one by Pema Chodron. She's an American Buddhist nun who is the author of When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. I'm going to read that. I haven't picked it up yet, but I'm going to read it. I just found these quotes just the other night. The third quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, another Buddhist. He's a Vietnamese monk who's considered to be the father of mindfulness, so we've heard from him often from this pulpit. Patrick brings him to the church very often. And his quote, "You do not suffer because things are impermanent. You suffer because things are impermanent, and you think they are permanent." So the suffering is not so much what is, but what you think is. Interesting, very interesting. So like I say, maybe I'm on my way to learning how to accept all this and learn to live and thrive and enjoy it. So I'm not saying we're any further closer to success on that spectrum that I talked about before, but if I put into practice the collective wisdom that I just mentioned that's on the order of service, I'm going to try to engage each future episode of what I call smashed expectations with perhaps a shrug of the shoulders and try my best to put on a happy face. So, is there a way that you can help me and others facing these same type of dilemmas? I believe the answer is yes, and I believe you know what's coming up next. You're going to join me in singing a song to help us overcome smashed expectations. Page 32 in the songbook. Please rise and sing, Put On a Happy Face.
Put on a happy face, brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face, wake off the gloomy mask of tragedy. It's not your style. You look so good that you'll be glad you decided to smile. Pick out the pleasant envelope, stick out the noble chain. Wipe off the full envelope, slap on a happy ring, and spread sunshine all over the place. Just put on a happy face. Let's sing it all again. Gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. I need more help. Brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face. Mask of tragedy, it's not your style. You look so good that you'll be glad you decided to smile. Pick out the pleasant envelope, stick out the noble chin. Wipe off the full envelope, slap on a happy grin, and spread sunshine all over the place. Just put on a happy face. We're going to do an amen to that now. Amen. 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 It's